Hello and good evening and welcome to a special program on NewsX powered by NewsX. Well, India faces New Zealand in the ODI World Cup final tomorrow. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma lead India's dominant run till recently, while New Zealand looks to continue its giant killing streak. The Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai promises to be a batsman-friendly pitch with pacers likely to shine. The average score in the first innings in the last 10 matches at this stadium has been 318. Yes. Fielding first is recommended at the day and the venue of the team, batting second, winning 60% of its matches. Remember the final of India versus Sri Lanka at the same very venue where India chased down the heavy score. Well, India have taken 80% of the total wickets at this venue, the Pacers. Well, joining me are three important guests, but very rarely do you get a guest who is the youngest ever in the history of Test cricket to captain a side, an international side. It's Tatenda Taibu. It's an honor to have you on our show. Also on the show is the former cricket director of Channel 4, Mr. David Brooks, who joins us from London, and another Zimbabwean, the lady who's played for 15 years in the Zimbabwean international side, Tasmin Granger, the Bulawayo girl and the Harare skipper. Skipper, welcome to the show. Very rarely we get this honor to have someone as esteemed as you. You've been one of the most successful wicket-keeper captain. Do you think your time was much ahead? Because if you look at the current World Cup, everybody who's been shining, every other player who shines is a wicket-keeper. Your views?
Well, I think cricket has progressed over the years. I think gone are the days where, wicket keepers were specialist wicket keepers, and wicket keeping was really regarded highly before batting. And then times have progressed. We started seeing, the likes of, I think pretty much started with Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Then they came, the times of Adam Gilchrist, and then it went, things started progressing, and then you started seeing more wicket keepers starting to open the batting, or being given proper roles up the order. And now, if you are not a proper batter as a wicket keeper, you don't make the side.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about the World Cup as we progress in the show, but one question that I've managed to hang on with myself for a decade and a half, and I have to ask you, as a teenager, as someone so young, so early in his career, leading the side at an international level, did you have sleepless nights?
Not at all, to be honest. I think there's a mixture of comments in regards to that. I think the first comment was I was probably too young and naive to an extent. I grew up loving to play the sport, and I just wanted to play the sport and play the sport to the best of my ability for my country. So I think that that desire overrode a lot of all the other pressures that are involved in the game. So that's probably the first point. And then the second point is I got someone said a few comments that I took to heart, and that was, Atenda, you're a wicket keeper before you are a captain. You are a batter before you are a captain. So the best way for you to contribute to the team is for you to score runs, is for you to take catches and stampings and make sure that you don't let any byes in. So before I got the pressures of captaining, I had to deal with my personal performances. So I put a lot of concentration on the personal performances, that the overall view of captaining a side then became nothing to worry about, to be honest.
Absolutely. David, what are your first impressions of Tatenda Taibu before we move on to, the World Cup?
Well, it is indeed an honour and a privilege to be sitting, on the same show with Tatenda Taibu. I mean, until 2019, he held the record as the youngest ever Test match captain in history. Tatenda, who took over that record? Do we know? I'm going to maybe direct that question to Tasmin in the studio.
Yeah.
Who took over that record as the youngest ever Test captain?
That was taken by Rashid Khan. So
Right?
Yeah, so that was in 2019. You're right about that, yeah.
Well, that's a
Absolutely.
pretty decent legacy. It's pretty. If you're going to hand over to anyone, Rashid Khan would be up there. But
Indeed.
no, I would like to pass on my congratulations on a fantastic career and
That,
where
that,
you led that.
I'm so eager to know what is your first memory of Tatenda, considering he comes from the same place, the same country, if not the place or the city.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think I can remember as early as before actually kicking off my own personal career, a spectacular catch that he took down leg. The picture still circulates around schools. A lot of the times when we're out here trying to encourage kids that wicket keeping's not the worst job on this planet. And he just looks like Superman. I'm pretty sure he even knows what the picture is that I'm referring to. A brilliant catch taken down leg, and he's at full stretch, one hand out, and I wouldn't want to know what it felt like hitting the ground after that. But I can personally attest to the fact that as long as you hold on the catch, the pain doesn't last for long.
Absolutely. Tatenda, one more question. Are we seeing the back of you and enjoying cricket even at the Legends League or at the international senior level?
Well, I'm involved in coaching at the moment. I'm with the Papua New Guinea national team at the moment. Yes, I was with the Legends last season. I played quite well. And unfortunately, my agent did not include my name in the draft, so that's why I wasn't drafted for this season. But I would have loved to take part in that.
Well, absolutely. Let's move on to India and New Zealand. We've got scores to settle. David, what do you think of the Manchester evening, which turned out to be Achilles' heel for India? Do you remember those 2 days in a semi-final? First time ever.
Well, I do remember. That's 4 years ago. It's ancient history, really, isn't it? As far as this World Cup is concerned, things were completely different then. England were well prepared. They were focused on winning that tournament. New Zealand were at their peak, and India hadn't hit their peak yet. I think this time round, it'll be interesting to see what Tatenda thinks about this. This time round is completely different. India have improved beyond all recognition. We were saying this morning on the breakfast show, Tatenda, that this India team is one of the strongest ever in any World Cup. You know, it's certainly the strongest Indian team to represent India in the World Cup. And we think it's as strong as maybe Pakistan in 2003, which would have been your era. Can you think of a team that would rival India as being that strong in the World Cup?
I don't think of any. I was actually thinking of that several hours ago, and I was thinking when we thought of India in World Cups, not only in World Cups, when you thought of India you split the teams into eras. You had the era where they had, they've always had batters, and that's a given. And then you had an era where they had batting and spin bowling, and they didn't have, a range of fast bowling. Yes, they had one or two, and they didn't have fielding during that era. And then their fielding started to improve, so they started having fielding, but they still lacked, the pace attack. Now they've got fielding, they've got batting, they've got the spin attack, and they've got the firepower of the bowling with the seam up front. So you are definitely right when you say that they've got a complete side in a World Cup, not only in a World Cup, but probably ever that I've seen, to be honest.
Can you think of any chinks in their armor? Are there any weaknesses? I can't see any.
I can't see any at the moment. I was chatting to my Papua New Guinea CEO earlier when he came to pick me up from the airport, and I was saying that it's very difficult to think of a team that would stand toe to toe with India at the moment.
If you were Tom Latham, if you were the New Zealand captain, what advice would you give him?
I think to play without fear. What happens with top performers is fear is the one that stops you from performing. As a team or as an individual. Now, the way India has been playing, the way India has been performing, that would definitely put a lot of doubt and fear into oppositions, whether personally or as a team, you start to doubt how you you fare against them, or you start to doubt how you fare as a batter against their bowlers, as a bowler against their batters. But once you take all that fear away, then you've got a big chance to perform at a big event, which is the World Cup. Now, so if I was a captain, I would be encouraging my players to play without any fear.
Well, that's an important thing. Thank you, David, for just doubling up as the host as well. As we go on to some of the best data that we have here, we start about the batting average between 1 and 10th of over for both India and New Zealand right now. So Tasneem, just take us through the runs and the number of the average that we're looking at. Go on.
Yes, definitely. So from the overs 1 to 10, you can see that India's average sitting dead on 67. This would definitely be accredited to Rohit Sharma, the man himself. And not too far behind him with a good backup attack, I believe, is Shubman Gill. He's actually stepped up to the plate quite well as well after coming back from recovering from being ill. New Zealand in the 1 to 10 over, 57.89. I think they haven't been getting off to the greatest starts, but what they do a lot better is not losing as many wickets, which this won't show you entirely, but our head-to-head matchup tomorrow morning as well will have it in there. Again, from 11 to 40, currently, India sitting at 64.57. We know this part, again, accredited to Virat Kohli, running hard, pushing the singles. His last innings, he had not even 1 6 in his innings, but he scored a couple of 4s as well, but it's the 1s and 2s that specifically count on their part. New Zealand, on the other hand, again, lower than India, 53.9. This will show you to say that they've had middle order collapses. If not for the likes of Kane Williamson coming in to steer the innings, or Daryl Mitchell batting deep enough as well, this is where you would say New Zealand's chink may come along for them tomorrow.
That's where I will invite Tiba to ask him. What exactly do you think has changed in Indian batting in the first 10 overs, especially in this World Cup? Because they seem to be just hitting judiciously, but making an impact as well. Your views?
Well, I think T20 plays a big part in that. And I think the success there of T20 plays a big part. You're talking about two players that have been playing well even in the IPL. That is just, the last IPL. So you've got Shubman Gill, who's batting really well, looking untroubled, and sometimes just, getting out, but you don't really see that he's getting out from being troubled. He's just, just getting out at the wrong time sometimes, but doesn't look troubled. Then on the other side, you've got a captain who's decided to take, the balls by the horns, and attacking, playing a bit of Brandon McCullum role that he did a few years ago in the other World Cup. So you've got that opening pair, and then you've got a middle order which has got a good balance of players that are able to push the ball in the gap and score the boundaries when needed. And then you've got the firepower at the backhand. So you've got an all-round team that has got hardly any weaknesses within their batting lineup.
Well, absolutely. This is what the Indian fans want to know, that you've got very little, problems at the top of the order. Let's move on to the next and find out what exactly we have in terms of bat. We've seen the batting. Let's look at bowling as well. Let's move on to our next thing. Incidentally, we don't do bad when it comes to the next, what do we say?
Bowling charts?
Yes, in the 41 to 50 overs as well. Well, we're still at the batting, and as usual, we're slightly delayed because of too much traffic with the PCR, but
I can kick you off.
Yes,
I can
do
kick
that.
You off. We had a chat this morning about the bowling as well and how economical the Indian seamers have actually been. David laughed at me in a statement where I said New Zealand need to be wary because the same guys they face at the start of the game are the same guys they're going to face in the last 10 overs.
Absolutely.
And this is proof in it in alone. Their current bowling averages are sitting at somewhere between 20.42, and I'll have you know that their economy is 4.31 at this point in time in the first 10 overs of the game. New Zealand, on the other hand, are sitting at 41. So maybe probably their seamers haven't exactly got it right entirely for them this
So net, what we're trying to say, if India is very good at the power play batting, they are exceedingly well when it comes to the first 10 overs by their seamers, Siraj, Bumrah and Shami. It's unanimously, it's considered to be one of the greatest bowling attack India has. Tate, you want to just talk about the Indian batting prowess or bowling prowess that India has, apart from the batting brilliance that you just mentioned? Yeah.
I mentioned earlier when I was chatting to David, you know, they've got an all-round team at the moment, and their attack and the numbers speak for themselves. They are able to get wickets up front, and not only getting wickets, but they're getting wickets at good economies. So they are still controlling the run rate while they're taking the wickets, and then that then sets up the platform for the spinners to come and do a job. Now, if the spinners are coming where the opposition is still trying to to find a balance between scoring and not losing any more wickets, then the momentum is already on India's side. So the spinners can easily calm down, relax and get into it easily. Now, if it was a different situation where they are coming in and the momentum is already on the opposition, then the spinners would come in and they'll be a little bit under pressure, to try to find the right speed to bowl on the track, etc. So that has played a big part in India's success at the moment.
Well, absolutely. Bowling. You want to round up the bowling before we get on to the next slide?
Definitely, just to go ahead and back what Tatenda is actually saying, something you need to realize as well in these overs is the period that India has 5 specialist bowlers they are relying on. 3 seamers and 2 spinners in Kuldeep Yadav as well as Ravindra Jadeja. On the other hand, New Zealand just has to rely on the likes of Mitchell Santner to be backed by a part-timer in Glenn Phillips as well as Rachin Ravindra. This will be the point where you say if their seamers have travelled, their spinners don't have much to stand on.
The other thing that we want to show it on screen right now is for David and Tate, is that India's pace attack has really good average when it comes to 23.58 as compared to New Zealand's 33.
This is their strike rate indeed. This is at how often they're possibly striking and actually picking up wickets. Takes on average about 23.5 balls before the Indian strike. But New Zealand, on the other hand, sitting at 33. This is after almost, you could say, every 6 overs they're possibly striking. This is in terms of seam. As well as if you're looking at their spin bowling attack for the Indians as well, you'll see that they strike at probably 6, I'd say almost 6 overs. But for New Zealand, again, 40. This backing up the fact that Mitchell Santner is operating in the middle overs on his own, as opposed to India drying up runs on both ends in the likes of Kuldeep and Jadeja.
Quickly, I'd like to throw on to Tate. Tate, are you more impressed with the spin attack or the pace attack that India has in this World Cup?
At the moment, it's the pace attack. At the moment, they are, because they are starting the fight and they are controlling the fight. It's like someone who's batting middle order, scoring 100, and against someone who's opening the batting or starting the innings and scoring 100. Yes, it will be a special 100 for someone who's coming in middle order. But if it's 100 for someone from the top order, they've controlled the game. And normally when they've controlled the game like that, the game goes one way. Now, similarly, on the bowling attack, if your top order bowlers are taking all the wickets at good economy, they've started the fight, and it's easier for the ones to come in and and then just keep the momentum, because it just becomes a matter of keeping the momentum that has already been driven by the top the guys that would have started the fight.
Well, absolutely, that's an interesting point. If we move on to the next batting average very quickly of India against the pacer and spinner, we'll get to know India scores. You want to take us through the 44 as compared to 40 of New Zealand, so that our viewers can see it on the screen.
Here, basically, both teams seem pretty comfortable, I'd say, scoring against the seam attack, because we do know that most pitches here have been assisting in terms of once you get rid of the swing and the seam as well in the later overs, it's a lot easier to play. India at 44.71, but opposed to their spinners, they're scoring at 100% almost. This will tell you where their comfort levels lie, in all honesty.
Just imagine, Tate, we've got one kid here, Of course, you've played at the IPL. You know exactly what the stands look like, what the pitch looks like. And in the last 3 matches, what we've seen, India scoring at 100% and 100 average on the spinners as compared to 44 for pacers. Do you think that's a cause of worry for India?
I don't think so. I don't think it's those things that are really put into consideration when you're playing a semi-final or a final. I think yes, the boundaries are probably considered. The size of the boundaries. I think the size of this boundary will probably be considered, and I think I think that it's going to be a better game. Yes, the statistics are all going towards India's favor because of the way they've been playing. But New Zealand has always, got very good World Cup statistics because probably they're good planners and they raise to the occasion at every World Cup. And this is not only their main side; their under-19s do the same. So it's definitely not a team that India should take for granted. So I definitely think this is going to be an interesting game, and I'm leaning towards it being a better game.
Absolutely. Before we go on to the next slide, when it happens, I'd like to ask David. David, are you more impressed with the Indian spinners, or we are happy with the pacers?
I couldn't agree more with Tatenda that it's the pacers that have set the tone. When you've got Jasprit Bumrah, when you've got Shami and Siraj bowling with attacking fields, it's really testing out techniques. And that first 20 overs, if New Zealand bats second, if India win the toss and bat first, I think it's going to be all over really quickly. I think New Zealand will lose a lot of early wickets. But for the first time in this tournament, New Zealand are picking from everyone. Everyone is fit to play. So I can correct myself and say that Tom Latham has passed the captaincy back to Kane Williamson tomorrow. Now, he's a serious person. There's some serious players in this team. Devon Conway, Darryl Mitchell, Glenn Phillips. They've got some good players. But if they win the toss and bat first, the interesting thing for me will be seeing the battle between the New Zealand quicks and the India top order. Tim Southee in particular has had a hold over Virat Kohli. He's got him out 6 times. But if India bat first tomorrow, then I think India will win handsomely.
Brilliant. Well, India's going to win handsomely if they're going to bat first. Let's ask Tatenda as we wrap our the daily bulletin in the evening. Tate, who's going to be your favourite and what is the margin of victory if India is your favourite? Crystal ball.
Well, I love both teams, if I'm to be honest, because I played against both teams, and I love the talent that is constantly produced by India. And being a cricket lover myself, I've constantly loved the way India bats. So I've got that side of me saying India. Then I've got another side of me saying New Zealand. New Zealand has got some of the nicest players. Now I'm talking on field and off field as well. And, anyone who's come across them always wishes them well. So I've got my other side of the heart saying, New Zealand. So I'm going to enjoy watching this game on neutral grounds.
Well, absolutely. We've heard the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain theory. But today, when it comes to India and New Zealand, Tate has given us a new theory about the left side of the heart and the right side of the heart. In fact, we and all the fans from India will definitely want to be on the right side of the Indian fans and hope for a resounding victory, which David Brooks feels. And we hope he's going to be cheering in from the Lord's Stadium as we join him tomorrow for our daily morning edition of this Cricket Carnival. Well, that's all we had time for. We thank all our guests, especially Tatenda Taibu, one of the youngest, or rather the youngest cricket captain in the history of this beloved game, and we thank him for his time. That's all we had time for. Keep watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.